He's working with the government in El Salvador on an asylum agreement that would allow us to deport migrants that are seeking asylum to El Salvador instead of accepting them in the US.
I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjekovic, and we are unapologetically outspoken.
Hey everyone, happy Monday. All right, so Tara, the unhinged liberals are planning a revolution, but they're planning it on TikTok.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's like you can't make this shit up. But so it's code name Cute Winter Boots, and they think they're so clever because that's, tricking everyone on TikTok. And Cute Winter Boots stands for guns. And so these young women who have never owned a gun all of a sudden think that everyone should arm themselves and learn how to use a gun for self-defense. Literally what people on the right have been saying forever, that the left has fought against left and right, but now they all want to go and get their own weapons. So just a piece of advice for these young women: if you're planning a violent revolution, maybe don't plan it on the most heavily censored social media platform. And I mean, it's like crazy. So these videos are everywhere. And these girls are talking about actually killing Trump supporters.
Wait, and you can see their faces and everything in the videos.
Oh, you can see their faces. Some of them are tagging their location. Okay.
My
Like,
God.
yeah, they're talking about fighting ICE agents that are trying to deport illegals, and basically overthrowing the government. But they seem to think that just because they're talking in code, it's okay. And I don't think they realize, number one, if you threaten the president, you go to jail. It doesn't matter if you're joking or not. You can't do that. And if you talk about felonies that you're planning to commit, you're going to get a knock on the door from federal agents. And there was this one girl in Aurora, Colorado, and she tags her location of a gun shop where apparently she works. And she's inviting people to go there. She's giving a specific day and a specific time where they can go see her to get their cute winter boots. And it's like, do you not think that maybe the FBI is going to show up at that date and time to that location, right? And then you get this other person posting that they're all meeting at the Indiana State Capitol today at 8 a.m. So obviously, it took Trump supporters about 2 minutes to catch on to this whole cute winter boots trend and start tagging the FBI on all these posts. And so a lot of the posts are being taken down. Some people have already been arrested. So there's this one guy, his name's Douglas Thrams, and he's posted multiple videos about killing Donald Trump and overthrowing the government. And so they showed up and arrested him. And I'm really hoping that all of these people are treated as domestic terrorists, just like parents at school board meetings were and the January 6th defendants were. It's like the left set those precedents over the last 4 years, and I have a feeling it's coming to bite them in the ass. And another thing that they're talking about is buying MAGA hats and wearing them while they, protest or revolt or whatever, to try to trick people into thinking that it's MAGA that is, committing these violent felonies. But my daughter, so I was really kind of freaked out because I'm like, there are young, unhinged people who are going to see this and
Mhm.
they're going to listen and they're going to go and get a gun or do something stupid. So
Well,
that,
plus, wait, you talked on Friday about what was posted in your daughter's bathroom about
yes,
killing Trump supporters, right?
yes. And never have I heard any of that rhetoric from this school. I think a lot of the kids are actually Trump supporters. So yeah, you see a death threat on the bathroom stall, and it's like, okay, is that because of this whole trend? And so it has me freaked out about, something happening because some kid sees this and thinks oh, it's so cool. We're like the kids in the Hunger Games. And that's what my daughter was explaining. She's like, these people literally think, they really truly believe that Trump will turn this country into the Hunger Games and Handmaid's Tale. Like they actually really think that this movie's like playing out in real life. And so it's like they're accusing Trump and MAGA of being so evil and dangerous while they're actively promoting violence and hate, which is evil and dangerous. And the irony of all of it is like, I feel like they're turning into conservatives because it's like now all of a sudden they believe in their Second Amendment right and that you should buy guns for self-defense. And then we've talked about this before with the whole, Roe v. Wade and everything, and how now they're like threatening that they're no longer going to have casual sex and like they're demanding respect from men. And it's like, yeah, like that's what the conservatives have been saying forever that you should do. And so it's like they've gone so far left that I feel like they've swooped back around and are now like taking on right-wing values, but like they don't see it. And, this is the same group of people that have been complaining nonstop about the January 6th, quote unquote insurrection for the past 4 years. But now they're planning an actual insurrection, but like a violent one. And they're sharing all of their plans on social media. It's like you cannot make it up. It's just the stupidity.
I feel like this is natural selection and we should just let it play out on to some extent. But at the
Oh,
same time, like, this is what's so ridiculous about the whole thing. It's the total ignorance of the left to even understand their own hypocrisy. It's just like with the COVID vaccine, when the left was screaming for vaccine mandates being mandatory. I guess that's redundant. But at the same time, they were screaming, my body, my choice, with the whole
yeah.
abortion agenda. It makes no fucking sense. And what's funny is like, I think this movement on TikTok is kind of hilarious, but there are anti-Trump movements forming all over the country, and they don't seem to be as blatantly like insurrectionist to the same extent. But I want to play this clip from a local Fox News channel in Chicago yesterday because these people are out of their fucking minds.
Taking to the streets today, angry about a fast charging flurry of changes and executive orders in the first few days of the Trump presidency. Fox 32's Nate Rogers reports much of that anger involves immigration.
President Donald Trump's first week in office has energized many Americans, while there are others that have grown furious by swift policy changes. March for Justice, bringing hundreds along Michigan Avenue.
This is one of those clips where you're telling me you can't hear it. I
I
hate
know, I
that.
hate that. I don't, it's like the mic, I think, is probably trying to take out anything that sounds distorted, but
Yeah. Okay, well, this chick is up there screaming about telling people to vote. And it's like the vote's already done. Okay?
yeah.
Like it's
Like,
over. Just
did you miss this? He won by a landslide. Get over it.
yeah, exactly. It just I don't know. It's so funny to me and yet at the same time so sad.
It
Um,
is. But can I just say too, like, I'm just watching these girls, and I mean, I'm saying young girls, like they could be 18, they could be 20, I don't know, but they're young, never ever used a gun before. And they literally think that they're going to go up against an ICE agent. And
right.
then what? And then what? Like, okay, let's say you get all your girlfriends together and you go and storm this Indiana Capitol. Then what? What,
Mhm.
like, what do you think is going to happen? You're all going to end up being arrested or killed by, the police that come in to rescue the people you're harming. Like, I
And
don't think
this
they've thought
time,
any of this through.
no, and this time you're not going to have the Biden admin to fucking excuse you and not hold you accountable.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just I think there's a lot of girls that think like, oh, this is like a fun trend, like fuck the rich. They keep saying eat the rich, and it's like you're saying eat the rich, but then you want to go after the person that's literally trying to help the middle class.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of them think it's this cute trend and don't realize like you're threatening violence on politicians, like you're going to get arrested. The FBI is going to show up and raid your house, and they don't care if you meant it or not.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's wild.
Get your cute winter boots.
Yeah, no shit.
Jesus. Okay. Well, oh my God. I feel like so much has happened over the weekend. So, one of the things that I saw, like, okay, Trump's been in office for, as of today, a week, right? And Democrats in Congress are having a psychological meltdown over his policies. So I was reading this originally in the Daily Mail, and then I looked it up, and it's Maryland Rep. Jamie Raskin. He's a Democrat. And he confirmed that they had this retreat for the Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee, and it was moderated by, quote, emotional regulation psychologists. So these therapy sessions were to help members of Congress learn how to deal with Trump's communication and authoritarian styles of speech. So, okay, this to me is fucking ridiculous. You're an adult. You're a member of Congress, which I guess, it is the biggest clown show on earth. And we talk about it being a theater performance 90% of the time. And you watch sessions of Congress and it's just fucking chaos. But you can't deal with Trump's communication style. And what I have to say to you people is like, try being a cop and having to stand in a skirmish line for hours and not lose your cool and remain totally professional while people are yelling and screaming death threats and obscenities in your face and throwing bottles of urine and bags of shit at you, and then come and complain to me about Trump's communication style because you are weak little fucks.
Weak, exactly. Raskin, he is like the epitome of a beta male.
Yeah.
It's like you can't take accountability for your own life, so you're going to play the victim and bitch and complain instead of just manning up and doing the job. And first of all, like, I feel like Trump has been very mild so far
Yes.
and very
Yes.
positive. So, like, what are they talking about? Authoritarian. It's like we had to sit there and listen to Biden basically, like, call us domestic terrorists because
Mhm.
we supported Trump. And I'm sorry, but did Congress offer emotional regulation therapy to the Republicans when Biden stole the election? No.
Nope.
What about during the January 6th, like witch hunt trials? No, of course not. Like, it's a complete waste of taxpayer dollars, by the way. Like, we are paying for this. And like you said, if you can't do the job because you're not emotionally stable enough, then resign and have someone competent take over because this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. And this is why we need an overhaul of Congress. And like speaking of weakness and people who can't control their emotions, we have to talk about California and not the fires this time. I'm talking about the Calexit initiative. Okay. This is the California version of Brexit, which was when the UK opted out of the EU. And this is not a joke. Okay. There is an initiative in California that has been legally cleared to start gathering signatures so that they can put a ballot or measure on the ballot in 2028 asking voters if California should be allowed to leave the United States and become its own free, independent country. And in order for this measure to pass, it would need at least 50% of registered voters in the state to go ahead and vote in the election. And at least 55% of voters must vote yes by July 22nd of this year. So that would be more than 500,000 voters. So if this happens, there would be a 20-member commission that would be created in 2027. And this commission would be responsible for studying the viability of California becoming an independent country. And then, based on the findings, the question would appear on the ballot in 2028. And if the vote is approved in an election, this would be a declared vote of no confidence in the United States. And so California could become its own country. And by the way, this will cost California taxpayers at least $10 million and an additional $2 million a year to operate this commission. So I say go for it, California. I really do, because I think all the blue states that want to be their own countries should succeed from the union and destroy themselves without taking the rest of the country down with their woke politics. It's like, let yourselves implode and turn into Lord of the Flies.
I mean, they've done such a great job with homelessness. So it's like, why not let them, create their own dystopia? And what is this? Does this mean like Newsom is going to be king? Like I could imagine him, like picturing it in his mind. He's like, I'm going to be King Newsom, and we're going to call it, ready for it, Calexit. And like his like rich friends are like, yeah, that's such a good idea. But like, what perfect timing? Like right after LA burned down,
Mhm.
and there's all this open land for the woke elites to inhabit. Like I just, it's crazy. And then also right before the Diddy trial starts, they could be free from federal law
Yeah.
and, keep all their child trafficking tunnels. I mean, they couldn't have planned it better. Um, but the thing too is like after seeing the complete incompetence with the fires and how they've handled it, why the hell would anyone vote for this? But I'm
Right.
sure there's a lot of crazy people that still would.
Mhm.
And it's like, think of how much the people in California are taxed already. And there's still $73 billion dollars in the hole as a state. Like, imagine how much more people would be taxed if they became their own country and couldn't rely on the federal government to help them. I-
Right.
It's just complete stupidity. I just don't understand. Like, these people must not have any logic. It's crazy. But another trend on TikTok, kind of along the cute winter boots theme, is you have all of these teachers that are doing videos saying how they are not going to allow ICE to take their students that are in this country illegally. Like, how freaking stupid can you be? I feel like it's basically holding up a sign saying, like, hey, Homan, come to my classroom because I'm hiding illegals. And then what? Like, how are you going to stop them? You're going to pull out your cute winter boot? I mean, it's just like these people are so dumb. I don't get it.
Okay, but I have a funny story for you because, we talked about this on Friday that Homan did say it wasn't off the table to make arrests at schools, which is why
Right.
everyone's freaking out. But he did say the focus is going to be on deporting criminals. And like, let's be real here, schools are completely infiltrated with gangs and criminal activity. So I'm completely in support of this. And apparently so is one Texas substitute teacher. And he seems to be taking Homan's message to heart because he basically invited ICE to come and raid his school. So this guy's name hasn't been publicly released, last that I saw, but he posted on X. This was ICE put on X and gave like their enforcement update on Friday about how they had made 538 arrests. So this guy writes on the post as a response and says, quote, y'all should come to Fort Worth, Texas to Northside High School. I have many students who don't even speak English and they're in 10th and 11th grade. They have to communicate through their iPhone translators with me. The at USED.gov, meaning the US Department of Education, should totally overhaul our school system in Texas too, end quote. So after this guy's post comes out, the school's in a total panic, and the school board president had to start making all these calls and try to reassure parents that ICE wasn't going to come and target their school district.
This whole thing is so, it's just absurd. And I'm sorry, like, don't even get me started on the education system because it's already in shambles. I think the whole thing needs to be like taken apart and put back together again. But, the reality of it is you have schools that are already overcrowded. I know we talked about that a little bit here in Florida. My schools, every school is completely overcrowded. Two-thirds of fourth graders cannot read proficiently.
Yeah.
And some of these schools, especially in Texas, have more kids who can't speak English than those who can. So it's not helping things. Like, it's just getting worse and worse. And I think about it as a mom, and it's like, yes, I do feel bad for the child who's innocent and they don't understand that their parents, committed a crime and came here illegally. But like, as a mom, I can't take my children to another country illegally and expect to be able to stay. If I went into Mexico and I just like put my kids in school, you think they're going to allow that? No.
Nor would they be catering to your kids to speak English in a country where that's not the language.
Exactly. And guess what? The citizens there wouldn't be cheering it on. They'd be like, get the
Mhm.
fuck out of my country. So
Yeah.
it's like no other country allows this. Why should we? Why is America the one that has to be different and take everyone in? And here's what the left is leaving out. Trump didn't put in place any new laws. He is simply enforcing the laws we already have. It was Biden that came in and decided to no longer enforce the law and protect our sovereignty. And every other president, including Obama and Bill Clinton, enforced border laws. Where was the outrage when Obama deported 5 million illegals? No one seemed to care about that. They just don't like it because it's coming from Trump. And it's funny because none of these people were speaking up about the 350,000 migrant children that have been missing. They don't care about those kids. But you know who does care about those children? Tom Homan,
Yep.
the guy that they're all pissed about. He's partnered up with Goya Cares to find these children. And no surprise, they're victims of human trafficking. And it turns out that when you actually go after the criminals, like Homan's doing, you find where they're keeping their victims and you start to understand this network. And just in the first week of the Trump administration, Fox News is reporting that they found 75,000 to 80,000 of those kids. They know where they're at. So here is the clip of them talking about this. Oops. Okay, come on, phone. Tara, I swear to God, I don't know what is going on with my phone. Oh, here we go.
For Trump has told me about, and all of this will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they've found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him.
Well said. Like, how many times did we watch hearings where you had Mayorkas and all these HHS people saying, we don't know where the kids are. We don't know. We don't know. We're looking into it. For years, they've been saying that. And Trump comes in, puts Homan in charge, and within a week, they're figuring out the locations of a lot of these children. Like, it just shows complete lack of competence, or what I think is that they absolutely knew and just didn't want to help these kids. Maybe they're in on it.
100% purposeful on the Biden admin's part. And like Homan is not fucking around when it comes to immigration, deportation, and like finding these kids. And I want to play a clip from an interview he did with ABC News that aired over the weekend, because he's talking about how this deportation plan is going to happen every single day.
I want to go back to those military flights going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes. But you're going to see the numbers steadily increase.
The estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table, because it's not okay to, violate laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime. So if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge should leave.
I agree. They should leave.
Yep. And I love how he like cites the law. Like, you're here illegally. If you do something illegal, you're going to get arrested. I'm sorry, that's the way it works.
Because that's what happens in every other country.
Yeah, exactly. Why do we have to be different? We shouldn't be allowing it here.
It's just following the law. And like, I'm sure you saw this over the weekend, because Trump's deportation plan is making waves, right? Including with the countries where we're trying to send illegals back to. And there was this whole debacle over the weekend with migrants being sent to Brazil and Colombia. And there was, I guess, a plane full of illegal migrants that we sent to Brazil, and they were handcuffed and shackled like criminals usually are when they're being transported by plane. But I guess this was not acceptable to Brazil. So their Ministry of Foreign Affairs put out a statement saying, quote, the indiscriminate use of handcuffs and shackles violates the terms of the U.S. agreement, which calls for a dignified, respectful, and humane treatment of returnees, end quote. And then President who I think is an illegitimate president, Lula da Silva posted on Instagram and said, the Brazilian government will not accept the violation of human rights. So after these posts went public, Colombian President Gustavo Petro posted on X and said that flights carrying migrants would not be accepted unless they're treated with dignity and not as criminals. But here's my question, Stephanie. If you think, like you truly think that migrants are being inhumanely treated by the United States, and you believe that it's a violation of human rights, shouldn't you want to get those people out of the United States immediately and away from, quote, inhumane treatment and give them the respect that you say they deserve and not keep them in a country that you think isn't treating them right?
Yes. The hypocrisy again. And this is why nobody takes them seriously, because out of one side of their mouth, they're saying the US is turning into the Hunger Games and the Handmaid's Tale. But then they turn around and say, we can't make people go back to their horrible countries. They need to stay here where they're safe and we can protect them. And it's like, which is it? Because if you truly believed that the US was becoming the Hunger Games, wouldn't you want every child to get out of here? But instead, they're wanting all these illegals to be able to stay. And I'm sorry, but like actions speak louder than words. So they can say all they want that the US is horrible, but they continue to stay and they want others to stay. So I guess it's not all that bad. And what do they expect them to do? Like, you don't want them handcuffed. You're returning them back to their country, a plane full of people, criminals that don't want to go back to their country. If you don't handcuff them, don't you think they might like try to overrun the plane and do something dangerous? I mean, it's common sense.
Yeah, it is. But the left doesn't think with common sense. But do you know what Trump's response was? Did you see his response?
Tariffs, right?
Yes, fucking tariffs. I love this man. I want to read what he posted on True Social just because it made me so happy. And so this was yesterday. And he said, I was just informed that two repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. The order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who was already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. So I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. A travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. Visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. IEEPA, Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. The measures are just beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regards to the acceptance and return of the criminals they forced into the United States. Fuck yes, Trump.
He truly is the best fucking negotiator in the world, because you want to know what? He posts that, he slaps those tariffs on Colombia, and then also I guess he shut down or like made notice that he's going to shut down the US embassy, which is like what you do when you're about to sever ties with a country. So, I mean, very quickly, the Colombian president comes back and says, you know what? bring them here. Not only that, I will send my presidential plane to get the migrants and bring them back to Colombia. And I'm just thinking, like, check fucking mate. Like, I am loving watching this game unfold because it's like fuck around and find out. That is the energy, and he's not dealing with it, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, this is what a real president does.
Mhm.
And another thing he's doing, I saw this in CBS News yesterday. He's working with the government in El Salvador on an asylum agreement that would allow us to deport like migrants that are seeking asylum to El Salvador instead of accepting them in the US. And it's called the Safe Third Country Agreement. And I guess this is something that Trump started with El Salvador's government during his first term, but it was never fully implemented. And then it was immediately terminated by Biden. So the article was saying that one of the plans under consideration includes deporting suspected members of Tren de Aragua, that very violent Venezuelan gang. And remember when we did our episode last Monday, we were talking about Trump's inauguration being historic because he invited leaders from other countries to be there. And one of those leaders was the president of El Salvador. So I think they have a pretty good relationship. And I'm hopeful that this could be an effective way to get these fucks out of our country.
I think so. I think this is the guy that's part of this whole conservative movement, that's happening around the world. And he completely turned El Salvador around because they had a huge gang problem and were considered like the crime capital of the world. Now it's considered one of the safest places in the world. And what he did is he built this like massive maximum security prison that holds up to like 40,000 prisoners. And I mean, it is hardcore. Like you can go and see videos of this place, but it's supposed to be like the best prison in the world in terms of security. Prisoners have to sleep on the floor. They aren't given blankets. They get zero time outdoors. I mean, they are treated like horrible criminals, and it's completely deterred criminals because no one wants to end up there. And so, I mean, it completely reversed the crime rate in El Salvador. So, I mean, if this guy's willing to help the US, I think he means it. I think this is like a true law and order president that's happy to partner with Trump.
That is what a prison should be. Prisons
Mhm.
shouldn't be places where you're basically housed and clothed and fed so you don't have to do anything and you get to watch TV and get fat and sleep comfortably and read and educate yourself. Like that to me is not what prison is for.
No, you need a deterrent. I mean, look at
Yeah.
what's happened here in the United States and places like New York and California where they're not, prosecuting criminals. They keep doing it. They keep committing crimes. You have to have a deterrent.
Hmm.
So, yeah. But just in the whole like theme of everything that's happening, yesterday on Instagram, I saw Trump posted an AI image of himself looking like a gangster, like with the gangster hat and the pinstripe suit, holding up this sign that says FAFO, which means fuck around and find out. And it made me think like maybe that was Melania's message too, with that whole gangster hat thing that she wore on Inauguration Day. And I just love it. Like, I cannot wait to see what else is in store because he is not messing around and he's not taking any bullshit either. And I love it. I'm really enjoying this more than like any TV show that's out there right now.
Oh, I know. It's incredible. Like, I feel like I've never enjoyed reading the news or looking up articles so much because it's just one awesome thing after another with him. And I just like, I'm constantly smiling and in a good mood. And did you see what he announced about FEMA last night?
I don't know. I saw one, I don't think it was an official announcement, but one video where he was saying, like, we're going to see about FEMA, but I'm thinking about getting rid of it. But
Yeah.
that's all I
Okay.
saw.
So after that, he signed an executive order to create a 20-member task force that's basically going to conduct a review of FEMA. And it's going to be co-chaired by our new DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, both of whom were finally confirmed on Friday with thank you, JD Vance, for casting the tie-breaking vote for Hegseth because that was like a week of drama.
Yeah, well, he had to vote because 3 Senate Republicans voted
Mhm.
no for Hegseth, even though these same people voted yes for Biden's cabinet members with no problem. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just ridiculous. And it was, in case anyone's wondering, if you live in these districts, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Susan Collins. So, at least the deep state players revealed their true colors and they need to be voted out. And I mean, it's just it pissed me off so bad. I went on their X accounts and every single comment was basically saying like, get the hell out. We're voting you out. We're done with you rhinos.
Good.
And I sure hope people follow through and vote them out.
Yeah, and I think that what the last hurdle really is Tulsi Gabbard, right?
And no, and RFK and Cash
Oh,
Patel. And I think they're all
oh
going
shit.
back to back, I think this week or next week.
Okay.
So those are going to be big ones. And they better let RFK through and
I don't
Cash
think
Patel.
I don't think I realized that RFK hadn't been confirmed yet.
I didn't
Shit.
either. I just
Okay.
heard that this morning. I was wondering, like, why is he being so quiet? But then I
Mhm.
realized he's probably not trying to make any waves right before his confirmation hearing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But getting back to this FEMA task force, I want to bring this up because it sounds like this is going to start immediately. And Trump instructed the task force to hold its first public meeting within 90 days. And then they have to submit a report to him within 180 days of this meeting. And I just fucking love him. I want to read what the executive order states. And I have to put on my glasses, my reading glasses, because this is in small
Ooh, I
letters
like
on my
those. I
phone.
like the color.
So it says, quote, the federal responses to Hurricane Helene and other recent disasters demonstrate the need to drastically improve FEMA's efficacy, priorities, and competence, including evaluating whether FEMA's bureaucracy in disaster response ultimately harms the agency's ability to successfully respond. Despite obligating nearly $30 billion in disaster aid each of the past 3 years, FEMA has managed to leave vulnerable Americans without the resources or support they need when they need it most. There are serious concerns of political bias in FEMA. Indeed, at least one former FEMA responder has stated that FEMA managers directed her to avoid homes of individuals supporting the campaign of Donald J. Trump for president. And it has lost mission focus, diverting limited staff and resources to support missions beyond its scope and authority, spending well over $1 billion to welcome illegal aliens. America deserves an immediate, effective, and impartial response to and recovery from disasters. FEMA therefore requires a full scale review by individuals highly experienced at effective disaster response and recovery who shall recommend to the president improvements or structural changes to promote the national interest and enable national resilience, end quote. So I love this because, okay, maybe we don't need to go as far as dismantling FEMA right now, but we sure as fuck need to fix what's broken in it.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking to people in North Carolina that were like, this happened September 27th, and we still have gotten nothing from FEMA. And these are people living outside. They have
Yeah.
nothing. And then did you see him talking with the mayor in LA? They were at that like town hall, and he's like, you need to let people onto their property. And she's like, we are, but we're doing it in a safe manner. And he's like, when? And she's like, in a week. And he's like, no, this is their property. Let them in now. And he's like, in a week, everyone in this room is telling me it's going to take 18 months because they have to get a permit. And in order for this permit to allow them on their property, it takes like 18 months. He was like, no, get them in now. Totally just let her know. So I'm glad he's sticking up for the people.
I don't know if you remember this. You probably listened to it. I didn't listen to it originally, but I guess Megyn Kelly had done an interview with what's the name of the woman who's like Jillian Michaels,
Hmm.
who, when her house was destroyed in the fires, she was saying it took her over a year to get approval to even clean up the debris because they
Hmm.
had to jump through so many fucking environmental hoops that
Yep.
she couldn't even get rid of this debris on her property. And that's insane.
It's absolutely insane. And that's what he was saying. He's like, everything has been leveled. There is nothing there that they should need a permit for. But that's California. And
Yeah.
people who someone called it, one of the guys that lives there. said, just wait until these people have to go back and realize all the permitting and regulations they're
Right.
going to have to jump through. It's going to make them think twice about voting for these leftist policies in the future.
Yeah. I feel so bad for all those people. Like, this is going to be a huge fucking hurdle. Just this is your this is your sign to leave California. So, anyway, another thing that I thought was awesome that happened over the weekend was a White House press release. I've never been so excited to read White House press releases as I am with this administration. But this one came out from Pete Hegseth, and I want to read it because it just gave me hope that our military will finally get back on track. And it also really turned me on because this man is amazing. So he said, quote, "It is the privilege of a lifetime to lead the warriors of the Department of Defense under the leadership of our Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump. We will put America first and we will never back down. The president gave us a clear mission: achieve peace through strength. We will do this in 3 ways: by restoring warrior ethos, rebuilding our military, and reestablishing deterrence. We will revive the warrior ethos and restore trust in our military. We are American warriors. We will defend our country. Our standards will be high, uncompromising, and clear. The strength of our military is our unity and our shared purpose. We will rebuild our military by matching threats to capabilities. This means reviving our defense industrial base, reforming our acquisition process, passing a financial audit, one of my favorites, and rapidly fielding emerging technologies. We will remain the strongest and most lethal force in the world. We will establish deterrence by defending our homeland on the ground and in the sky. We will work with allies and partners to deter aggression in the Indo-Pacific by Communist China, as well as supporting the president's priority to end wars responsibly and reorient to key threats. We will stand by our allies, and our enemies are on notice. And this will all be done with a focus on lethality, meritocracy, accountability, standards, and readiness. I have committed my life to warfighters and their families, just as my fellow soldiers had back on the battlefield. Know that I will always have your back. We serve together at a dangerous time. Our enemies will neither rest nor relent, and neither will we. We will stand shoulder to shoulder to meet the urgency of this moment. Like each of you, I love my country and swore an oath to defend the Constitution. We will do that each and every day as one team. Together, we will accomplish the president's mission to deter war and, if necessary, defeat and destroy our enemies. Godspeed." End quote.
It's like things are right side up again.
Yes.
I'm so glad he got approved. And just
Me
think of how
too.
much shit they put him through. That makes me really nervous for RFK because
I
like they're
know.
going to go even harder after him.
I
So
know.
we'll see.
I wonder if the God, fuck, the files, the JFK files. What are they called?
Um,
Declassified. The
yeah,
declassified files
Oh,
are
we
going
have to
to.
do a whole episode because
I
they
haven't
haven't
seen anything
even
on it yet.
they haven't I guess they have like 45 days or something to release
Okay.
them.
Okay.
However, I guess there were files that were released like years ago. So I was just looking through those.
Mhm.
Just those alone, shocking.
Okay.
Completely shocking that no one was talking about this. So we have to do a whole episode because I think whatever comes out in these files, I can't believe it's going to top what's already out, but it might, and it's bad. It's not good at all for,
Okay.
yeah,
I was just curious if they were coming out before his confirmation. I thought that would be interesting, but
I don't think
if they
so.
have 45 days, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I really hope he gets confirmed.
He better. There'll be a lot of people
Yeah.
pissed if he doesn't.
Oh shit. All right.
Okay. Well,
Well, I think that's enough for a Monday.
yeah, I think that about does it. So we'll keep track of everything. I'll figure out exactly when those hearings are so we can watch because I'm sure that's going to be a quite the theater performance. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.